Farzad actually posted like a nice cut down of it, like a
Linda,
33.
I saw a couple clips of her at on CNBC. I mean, she was speaking like a boss, bro. She was like, Twitter is
Well,
about to be, or X is about to be the next biggest thing. And
I'm not doubting it. I know a lot of people kind of signed off on it. They're kind of calling it dead. But I think in a few years it's going to look like a very, very different platform. Like even now, like just even the branding, changing it to X, having it be all black. Like after a while, people just forget what it was. The idea that now it's a post and not a tweet.
do you agree with that? Do you agree with literally ripping apart like one of the most iconic brands and changing it into something else?
Yeah, I think you need to. I think there's an old saying, and I forgot what it was. It was 48 Laws of Power or 33 Strategies of War, one of those books by Robert Greene, where he talks about like you need to kill your father in order to be better than him, right? So they need to completely move past it. They need to take everything and just sort of burn it all down and build it new. They don't gain anything by bringing any of the excess baggage of Twitter. This is the only way to literally reinvent itself is to just get rid of it all and start over. And look, in a few years, we're not going to remember it. It sounds crazy, but we won't remember it. There's so many things that have been left into the past. And you can think about that even when you first migrated from MySpace to Facebook or from.
Do you think they should have done X as a holding company, but the Twitter brand still is alive the way Meta kept Facebook, but they just changed the name of the overall company?
No, because I think fundamentally the amount, like what Twitter is known for now is going to be one small piece of what they expect Twitter or X to be in the future. And so it needs to be rebranded so that people it's for optics too, just so that you think of it differently. And like you were saying, I didn't get a chance to listen to the call from Linda. I thought that was the space that Farzad had done a cut down.
Yeah.
With, yeah, if she comes in and does what she's planning on doing, and she can get the advertisers back and make it another platform, make it like a whole other platform for advertisers connecting with creators. They're continuing to pay people. Like if they keep doing this and keep paying people to create content, I am infinitely more engaged. Somebody actually from our chat texted me today. I think it was Crossroads texted me today. He was like, "Thank you guys so much for pushing me to actually engage and make Twitter better because his tweets are now Jeremy's using his tweets. Jeremy opened up.
He's getting some traction. Yeah,
he's getting traction.
He messaged me about it today. I was like, "That's awesome."
That's like and he doesn't have that big of a following, but it goes to show that you don't need a big of a following if you're just providing good content. And I think that was the goal, right? That was the goal, just to elevate the voices that are providing good content and get them out there to the people.
Speaking of following, we got to give a shout out to our boy who didn't tell us, but he has reached 7,000 followers on the Twitter sphere.
Chris is killing it.
There you go. 7K,
I'm not Jesse Dow, man. Jesse Dow is killing.
Jesse Dow's an alien. Okay. All right, no one is Jesse Dow.
Beast with the followers, man. I mean, I was planning something when I hit 1,500 followers. I'm still working on it actually, and I just crossed 2,000 myself. And I was
wow, I didn't even know.
I just crossed 2,000. Wow. So I was working on something, and I do plan to post it. It's been kind of a request, so I'm like, once I have a little time, I'll get to finish it. Yeah. So thank you everybody for the follows. Yeah. Thank you everybody for following and for the interactions. Yeah,
I was posting more like before, but like with the Patreon now, like I'm putting more. Like you guys are in my Patreon, so like I just put more stuff on Patreon because I think like there's a lot of stuff that I want to explain to people on the Patreon, and so anyone replies to my thing, I always reply back to them right away. It's like, look, this is why I think it's like this. It's very interesting, the dynamic between Twitter and having a closed group of people, because on Twitter you can bring up well, it's not just the bullshit, but you can bring up every fact that you have researched, and there's always someone that's going to dismiss it, saying you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, look, I have proof. I can show you the receipts. And it's like, no, I still don't believe you. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's fine. So instead of and that's fine. People are allowed to criticize and go through all the information. But when it comes to like having a small group, you get to have this one-on-one relationship with people that I kind of find it's just a better feeling. So
you're actually I think like the poster child for like a Patreon. The way that you research and the way that you give out your information, it's literally a perfect platform for someone like you. Variety of media, and being able to just connect with people one-on-one in not necessarily a tiny group, but a group of people that want to hear what you got to say. I'm telling you, it's perfect. I'm really glad that you went ahead and started that.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Twitter is important for top of the funnel growth. Elon posted they had 541 million monthly active users. That's going to get to 1 billion in 5 years, bro. I think they can get it to 1 billion. And like, if that's the case, top of the funnel brand awareness on Twitter, I mean, it's gonna be special. And now they're paying people, bro. Like, how crazy is it? For 20 years, Twitter didn't think, we should give some fucking money to people. They're gonna keep tweeting. Like I remember talking to a product engineer in 2018, and they were like, we're trying all these new things to get people to tweet. Like, what if you just pay them? Like, take a little bit. They're taking 5 million of the ad revenue. Twitter's gonna do like 3 billion in ad revenue, 5 million, and they're giving it to creators. And look how happy people are. And it's
part of that is because of being a public company. The markets would not want to see that.
That's a good point.
They would say, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Paying people for the platform when that money could go to the bottom line." So that's Elon being smart and sort of weaponizing the fact that it is a private company. But they don't have to. They don't have any shareholders. They're just doing what's go to platform. They could actually operate like at cost, right? They could give all of the money away to creators as long as they have enough to keep the lights on and keep it going. Like you said, eventually the ad revenue gets so big that they can start taking a piece of it. And I think he even said something like that. They're going to do that for a year, and then after about a year, they'll start taking maybe 20% of it.
And by the way, Vitaly, that is a threat to Meta.
Oh, no, I'm so
that
scared.
is a threat to Threads.
Oh,
that is a threat. Do you use Threads anymore? Do you still use it, Vitaly? Let's be honest.
I use both of them. I use both of them for 5 minutes to say some nonsense and then leave. Both don't matter. How about that?
I just don't understand why anyone will post on Threads if you can make money on Twitter. Like,
what are the current...
I agree. Actually, for creators, and I'm actually pissed if Mark actually should do that for Instagram, for IG, and because now people are paying $15 a month. He can pay people a bit to the big Instagram users and then the people who are using Threads. He can do that. He can take $5 million. That's like nothing. That's
nothing. It's a rounding error.
That's not even lunch money. It's not even lunch money.
What are the actual, now that it's settled a bit, what are the monthly or daily active users on Threads? Because you see different reports. It's
80%
50%.
lower.
It's 80% lower. I read 50%.
What is that website I used to go to check? Quant Quiver. I'm going to check right now.
Did you guys see this thing?
People were criticizing Mark that he would tell you how many days since he's logged on, and people are tracking that, saying like if he's not logged on for 7 days.
Okay, so they have 122 million users. They got to 100 million in 7 days, and since then they got 20 million people in the past couple months.
Wait, they gained 20 million new people, so they're 140.
No, they're at 120 total. 122.
I think the usage has dropped by 75% or so, but still, that's like 30 million. I don't know, it's like 30 million people for a brand new service.
It's almost a sixth, about a sixth of what Twitter has now.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that there was a really interesting thing with Twitter with community notes, and I didn't realize how genius this was. Let me just show you guys. Basically, there's this thing going around where share my screen real quick. So basically, what happens is there's like accounts that'll post like thirst trap images, right? Where like guys will, click on it, and then the girls will respond to it, and basically it'll lead them to OnlyFans. But what's funny is the community notes are actually catching these people and putting on here, this yet again another hidden paid advertisement. The women in the picture respond, and he replies to boost them, so his minor followers will subscribe to their porn. And so basically, it's hilarious. like a way that that they sneak in free advertising, and they get paid for it, and then they also promote their OnlyFans using Twitter that way. It's a very interesting concept. It's just people are fucking creative and know how to game the system to get money.
Especially once they announced what the metrics were that they were using to pay people out. They were like, you need X number of impressions. Yo, if you quote tweeted somebody, they were like, bro, hit the retweet. Give me people were getting like, dare quote tweet my shit, and then everyone was like retweeting their own. They would retweet their own. For a couple of people.
Do you think the 15 million threshold is too high, or do you think that's Elon's kind of level of excellence that he expects? Like, if you want this money, you're going to really have to work, and he wants you to be committed to the platform. Or do you think
it might just come down a little bit? But I think it's reasonable. I think it's reasonable to expect something like 5 million.
Because YouTube has 4,000 watch hours on YouTube. That's not easy either. Right,
that's really hard. 4,000, and it's within a year. You have to, you start losing the time. I was actually talking to some friends that are trying to get their YouTube pages monetized, and I'm like, it is freaking hard. They're trying to open up a bunch of laptops and turn on. I'm like, guys, you have to, like, literally. I'm like, it doesn't work. But I got a different IP address. I'm like, guys, you gotta why don't you just create interesting content?
No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that. I was like, hey, why don't you promote it? Why don't you push it out on Twitter? Are you on Reddit? Find a Reddit forum, and they're like, that's too much work.
Marketing's hard.
Bro, get that Bangladesh bot farm going. That's what you need to do.
Yep. No, there's Facebook groups where people are literally I'm in Facebook groups where people are just posting their channels all day trying to get the monetization up.
Facebook groups are actually a fantastic idea, and Marketplace is actually a fantastic idea. Although I got my first scammer on Marketplace.
Really?
Like I mean, I didn't fall for it, but I've been trying to sell my old iMac Pro, and I put it on eBay. I wasn't getting any traction. eBay is just so dead. Someone needs to do something with eBay. I think someone posted something to Vitaly and I, like, how is PayPal trading where it's at and eBay is not, when eBay is just an absolutely dead platform. Anyway, I threw it up on eBay, no traction. I threw it up on Marketplace, started getting a little traction. And they have this thing that they borrowed from the dating apps where you can do like a boost. So you could pay like $1 or $2 per day to Meta, and they'll boost your ad. And I got somebody that made me an offer on the laptop. I'm going back and forth with this person for a few days, and then they start asking for like some private PayPal information, and I click on it, and it's like this super hot Russian chick who like lives in London, and I'm like, oh man,
definitely needs that laptop.
Yeah, because she was like, I need this iMac Pro right now. I'm like, really?
It's like, please send it to me now. I need to create more content.
Yeah, well, eBay has similar scams. I tried to sell actually a good camera on it, and someone won the auction, and then they started contacting me about how they're going to pay for these weird things. It's like, no, there's a link right there. It's you do through PayPal or credit card, but they were trying to go around somehow, and I forgot what it was. I'm like, well, immediately cancel.
Yeah.
And Marketplace, actually, I'm buying a lawnmower tomorrow from a guy who's dropping it off, and buying a lawnmower through Marketplace. I couldn't find a used lawnmower any other way. I don't even know how to do it, but besides eBay.
The thing is, you could find it on eBay, but the genius part about doing something like that on Meta is that it is really you. It is who you are, and it also knows where you live. You don't even have to go through verification. I can click your profile and I can see you with your family. Like. And because it knows where you are, it can really limit the search to the people that could actually pick this thing up. It's such a good platform for something like that. And I've had great success with it. It's just for some reason with this computer, I can't get it to move.
My brother-in-law actually is part of like a couple of Facebook groups that do like Pokemon card unboxing and Pokemon card like pack openings. And dude, the guy makes money, man. I don't know how he does it. Like he's like in and out trading cards, buying, selling them, and then hosts like these like meetups and stuff. And I didn't realize how big of a market like Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering. My brother's like, my brother probably has $100,000 worth of Magic cards that he's actually bought, like that are professionally graded. He's like, dude, you don't understand. I told him, like, why don't you buy some stocks? He's like, no. The return on these is way higher. And I was like, really? But then it's true. Like he showed me like some of the pricing that's on there. So if you have a very collectible card, it can appreciate way more than some of the stuff that we have. It's comic books are like that. There's tons of assets that
I've had comic books for 30 years now. They're worth less.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it depends on which one.
But
right?
it's the return has not been great. Let me just
I have complete sets of baseball cards that I bought when I was a kid. Like I think I have that complete 1990 score set, like in a box.
I was sure we would 100x that. I was sure the 1987 box set of Tops would
right now
100x, but it's like worth $50 more than I bought it for.
Wants that? Crazy. Like how do I even? I don't even know how to connect with the people in that community. I have old comic books too, like Transformers and stuff.
No, but Marketplace, I think someone was mentioning, but yeah, I sold my car too in Marketplace. The RAV4. I'm buying a lawnmower. Like I think Carlos sold his refrigerator. So like besides eBay, there's
this one's going up on eBay. This one's going up on Marketplace this week.
Yeah, it's funny that Marketplace has taken over Craigslist, right? Because Craigslist used to be the big way to do this stuff, but I think
it still is. You can still use Craigslist.
I tried. It's not as good, and it's way more scammy.
Oh yeah, it's full of scammers. I mean. If I don't know if they pulled out the Facebook group aspect of it and made it like its own platform, I think it would rival Reddit.
Maybe.
Because by the way, we have some breaking news real quick. Twitter has officially lowered to 5 million impressions. That is a threshold now for monetization.
Wait, 5 million? But that's what it was.
5 million.
5 million. 10 million?
No,
it used to be 15.
Million.
Oh, cool.
It's now 5.
Whoa, I gotta go check my. Remember that month that I had that post that had over 1 million views, the one about the shark, the guy that jumped into the river.
Yeah,
like, that would have qualified me.
All it shows us is that finance content is not where it's at. We have to go to shark or cats and dogs content,
or hot girls. Hot girls works.
Girls.
Yeah, so hot girls with sharks, and we got a winner here.
Amit, can you get a co-host that's beautiful?
I can try.
What are your guys' impressions? What are you guys impression on your analytics?
On
I
Twitter?
haven't checked.
Yeah, like you can just check your analytics. It tells you right there. It tells you
I'll
your
post
I-
mine up. I'll show you.
Just right on your profile. It just tells you like you go to whatever, create a studio. Boom.
More
You get your analytics.
professional.
You have to sign up for anything for that?
No. You
I
just
don't think
on
so.
your
You just go to
profile,
it.
there's like the little three things you hit. Analytics, it takes you to the page.
5 million is really good now, man. Like
Here,
there's
5 million
a lot
is-
of people.
Well, I think what that means is that they're making more money that they can actually
This
lower the
is
threshold and pay people out.
this is what it looks like. If Amit, you want to share the screen real quick. So
Yeah.
So like this is my Twitter thing. So I have like 7,000 followers, of course. The mentions is down a lot. Profile visits is down a lot, but the tweet impressions are up. So it's like
So if you get 4
1
more
something
million of those impressions, does that
Well, no, it's
mean
over
you
3
wanna-
months. So Chris, go to tweets.
yeah.
Yeah,
Click,
go
on,
to
click on tweets at the top right.
Where? Okay.
Top, right there. And then on instead of last 28 days, click on you see go up all the way to the right, top right. Yeah, last 20 days. Go to what's today? August 10th.
last
Go to
28
May
days.
10th.
Right there, last
Yeah.
28 days.
Let's
No,
see.
because it's over 3 months. 5 million
Okay.
over 3
Oh,
months. So
right,
you might
right,
already
right.
qualify.
So May
for it.
10th, right? So let's see
Yeah.
my update.
What do you got?
Yeah.
There you go. You
Oh,
should
you're
qualify,
in.
yeah.
Oh, so you should be
Chris, you just have to apply for it now. It'll
You
be
should
in
be
the-
getting a
the
check.
monetization.
Yeah. I mean, there was
Well-
like this month was just crazy. There was like one tweet that I made that just went.
One tweet out of nowhere. It's
bonkers.
always the tweet that you never expect.
Is it impressions or is it engagements?
Impressions.
Impressions.
Impressions are just views. That's
Yeah.
all they really care.
Yeah,
You
it
can't
was-
do this
like
on
I
the app,
said,
Blake. You have to do this on desktop. You have to do this on desktop.
I wonder which tweet it was. Like I haven't been really paying attention, so
You can go to your
I don't
top
know.
tweets and see.
Where is it? Does it say?
Like
Top
when you go
tweets.
to it's in that main
Right
page.
there, top
You do
tweets,
it.
right in your tweets.
Yeah, go to top tweets and it'll tell you right there. Yeah,
Where?
and right there.
Oh, top tweets right
Yeah,
here.
and it'll tell you what like your top tweets were. So those were
Okay.
63.
I guess I see long term.
It was when you clowned on.
Oh my god! I can't believe that's the one. I can't believe that's the one that we got, man. That's the one.
I
that
mean,
was-
you know, it's
I didn't clown on these guys,
First of all,
man.
it shows you-
a platform of hate.
Well, Twitter rewards you when you mess with people. That's what it rewards you for. If you're an a-hole,
It's-
you get more impressions.
That's kind of shit. That's kind
is
of
kinda
fucked up,
fucked up.
man. I mean, you replied to it too, so you're one of them, Vitaly. Look at you.
I'm trying.
All of
That's,
us.
that's my whole. That's my whole stick.
All right. Well, there
Okay,
you go.
it's 17 minutes. We should probably
Well,
talk
listen.
about inflation.
As soon as Twitter pays me, I'll quit Threads. I promise.
Hold on, I want to see. I want to see real quick. What do I got here?
Yeah. And the other one was when Anthony Noto liked my tweet that I switched to SoFi for my banking from JP
yeah.
Morgan to SoFi. So that was another big one. So interesting. It's
And you
interesting.
probably switched back by now.
No, I still use it. I still have SoFi. It's like it's good. I just don't like the UI. Like really UI.
What? You're
like-
out of your mind. The UI,
UI
is
sucks.
No,
awesome.
no,
It's for children,
The UI,
dude.
no, the problem with the UI is that
awesome. On desktop,
too
I'm
much
saying
going on.
desktop. What do you mean? It's
oh,
too
on
much?
desktop I've never used it
On desktop,
the
it's
on the phone.
I don't have the app, but on desktop, it's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
mean,
it's
I'm-
really
By the way,
nice.
SoFi got hammered today. Fell below.
Oh, yeah,
9
what is it
bucks
at?
today.
I
It's like
haven't been paying
880
attention.
or some shit, which I think is
going
good. I think when it rips back up, it's gonna be violent if it's coming down right now.
I would pick up some more. At
See,
any
the problem with SoFi is that it just has so much going on, man. That like I'm like, bro, I just want to see my balance. I want to see my credit, and I know some of it you can hide, but then it just keeps coming back too. You know,
on desktop, it's not like that, man. On
Have you
desktop,
tried Wells
all the
Fargo,
information that you want is front and center.
They just show you balance.
Have you tried Truist?
no, actually, when I had TD Bank before, it was very simple. Like you log in, it showed you what you had in your checking, showed you what you had in your savings, and it showed you your recent charges, and that was it. It was very clean. The top 4 buttons were just like the banking things that you need, like pay a bill, transfer this, or deposit a check, and I think one other thing was like Zelle, and that's it. That was the only thing to it. But it was very clean, right? With SoFi, because it's an all-in-one app. Sometimes they have so many like add-ins to it. You've got the SoFi Invest part. You've got the SoFi, your loans, if you have any loans with them. Then you have your banking. And then, like I said, it's just a lot of busy stuff that's on there. So I'm
And
like,
they keep
bro,
trying to
you need
upsell you
some-
because as
Yes,
soon as you log
yes.
in, it's like pop up. Oh, do you want this credit card? Oh, do you need this
Yeah.
loan?
Yeah. And then they try to get you by like, oh, well, if you open a new credit card, we'll give you 200 points. 200 points is like $2. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to really open a credit card. But
like they're trying to grow the business, and
Oh, yeah.
you know that how they grow is they have data on you. They know how much you've clicked in. They know what products they
Yeah.
might be able to get you with, and they have to push those products.
Yeah.
So, but I'm telling you, look, try it on the desktop. It's a different experience.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to. I didn't even, to be honest, I didn't even know they had a desktop version.
Me
But then I
either.
was like, hey, why wouldn't they? Yeah.
That's about all. That's about all they would have.
Yeah.
It's not. It's nice. I don't know. I like it.
Have you guys ever? Have you guys?
Can you give Nick Percy financial advice? He needs to know if he has to buy now.
I mean, SoFi's up 100%.
No, you got to do it. No, when someone asks you like that, you got to do it like Commodus from Gladiator. You got to hold your thumb out like this, and then you go, or you give the thumbs up.
I've never seen that movie.
You hit the
What?
nail on the
You've
head,
never
by the
seen
way.
Gladiator? Sign off. Oh my god. Okay, you have to watch Gladiator.
Look, for the long term, SoFi is absolutely a buy, but it's up from $4 in May, so it could still fall back down because it's up more than 100%. So it's
But what's the market cap at $8?
$8 billion. And the last quarter was an absolute banger, but could it keep going down? Yeah,
I would still pick up. I mean,
I would still pick it up.
Anywhere between 5 and 10, as long as that single digit is it's a nice price, man.
I agree.
I'm not picking up shit till 5 again. Maybe.
Well, speaking of which, okay, like I'm saying that I think we've got another couple of weeks. I think we're in the downtrend, and I think we have not seen like the bottom yet. I think we're going to get better prices even going into September. What do you guys think?
Well, let's combine that also with inflation news. We got a CPI that was better than what we expected. So
Can you define better, please?
So the market wanted 3.3. We got 3.2, and the market rallied, which wasn't too bad. 3.2 is still a reacceleration. 90% of that is shelter. So, I mean, that hopefully can be resolved over the next couple months.
What are you saying? Like, hopefully they can kick these people out?
I mean, I don't know how they're going to figure this shit out. Chris, what are your thoughts on inflation? David, we'll get to your super chat in a little bit. Go ahead.
So the initial reaction was very like, yay, euphoria popped. And then when people really dug like into it, the reaction was pretty negative. So we had a nice intraday pop, but then as people really digested the numbers, they started to see like, hey, we're still in a market that might be a little bit overreaching. So then there was a precipitous sell-off. But I think what's interesting is if you look at the PEs on the value companies, they're really low. And the ones that are like shit companies, they're like really, really high. So the difference between the low PEs and the high PEs, it's crazy. And same thing with the multiple. So right now, the way that I've positioned my portfolio is that it's mostly in in things that are pretty much like have been sold off, that are slowly recovering back to their norm, but they're also paying dividends. Like I told you guys, the banks were a great place to be. Another one is like commercial real estate. Commercial real estate, depending on which region you're looking at, is a good place to start, putting your money in slowly.
Wait, I'm confused. Because I thought 2024 is when commercial real estate goes to shit. Or that's what I'm hearing.
I mean,
on CNBC.
That's a theory that a lot of CNBC also said that Meta was going to go bankrupt last year. That didn't happen, did it?
But isn't there logic that commercial real estate is like
3-year leases
going to have to be refinanced and at horrible rates?
So there's two things. Number one, and this is something I guess I'll go over it, but the banks right now are not in a position to take the losses. Okay, so right now what's happening with commercial real estate is in a point where there was a lot of layoffs during COVID, and people were working from home, and slowly there's a trickle of people coming back to the office. So leasing activity, depending on which region you're looking at, is slowly picking up, which is a good thing, but they're nowhere near the levels that they were pre-COVID. Now, what does that mean for most commercial REITs? That means that they are going to have to refinance in a higher environment. But the banks, who actually are the ones that lent them the money, they're not in the business of becoming landowners, or they don't want these buildings, these empty office buildings, or partially occupied office buildings. It's really an illiquid market. Unlike a house, which you can put on the market and sell it, if you don't have an active market, these things can really sit around for a long time. Not to mention the banks would have to take a realized loss if they were to actually like take the bank back. So if you foreclose, like let's say you lent a commercial real estate developer $100 million for a building, right? And now the commercial developer says, look, I can't pay you anymore. Take your building back. And you now are putting it into the market because you foreclosed on the property and you have to sell it. The price at which you would sell it for, let's say $50 million. Now what's going to happen is that $50 million loss is going to end up showing up on your balance sheet. So now everyone is going to start looking at your bank. And right now, everyone's got problems. The banks are not exactly like looking too good on face value. So the last thing you want to do is take those write-offs up front. So the banks are working with a lot of commercial real estate developers to do something called just extend, pretend and extend. I don't know if you heard that term before. So basically, they're pretending like nothing is wrong, and they're just extending the loans further out in the future. So if you had a 3% mortgage that was due in 2024, 2025, and the refinancing period was coming, instead of booking the loss, what you're doing is say, you know what, just keep paying me the 3%. Let's extend that loan out a little bit further so that this way I don't have to take the upfront loss. And the only loss that I have to take is the 2 or 3 percentage points that I'm losing out on by getting my money back and lending it back into the open market again.
So that's why the banks don't get fucked because of commercial real estate. They just keep the rates where they're at in terms of the refinance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on the lender, right? The worst thing you can do as a lender right now is foreclose on a property that's now going to sit idle and you're not going to be able to do anything with it. Not to mention banks don't have the expertise to deal with commercial real estate. It's a very like small community of people that can really do commercial real estate well at that level. So a lot of the developers right now are using that as leverage to basically renegotiate some of the terms with the banks. The banks are okay with it too. The federal government's actually very supportive of it because the last thing you want is a banking crisis. So in the midst of all of this happening, there's actually real pockets of opportunity, not just for the banks, but also for the commercial real estate guys. Because like I said, we're seeing a slow trickle back to the office. It's not something that there's a stampede of people where doing work from home is completely dead, but there are more opportunities right now for commercial real estate to start picking up clients again. And it's going to be very region specific. So you can't say, okay, every commercial real estate developer should be invested in. The ones out in the West are the ones that are probably hurting the most, like in California, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're kind of like stuck with a lot of inventory that's all big tech focused. So they have really big tech focused companies there. And so tech has been on the forefront of work from home, and they're kind of staying at home. Whereas New York City is back to what it was pre-pandemic in terms of foot traffic, but then also New York is a very diversified economy. So there's banking, there's hedge funds, financial services, biomed. Every major corporation in the S&P 500 has a headquarters in New York. So certain markets in terms of commercial real estate will fare better than others. So depending on which REIT you buy, each REIT is going to have different levels of exposure to different parts of the country. And so the REITs that I'm primarily looking at are based in New York City, which, like I said, are slowly recovering. Their leasing rates are slowly recovering. They may not be.
You don't think there's a massive recession because of commercial real estate in 2024? You don't think that's the reason for the recession?
No, I don't think so. I think that was a talking point that a lot of people put out there, but the fear induced by that lowered down commercial real estate like REIT prices way below book value. Like some of them were trading at 30 cents on the dollar in terms of their equity holdings. So it makes no sense to go that far low. Like I agree that there should be some repricing, but not all buildings in New York City are worth 30 cents of what they were 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Maybe you can take a 25% haircut on top of it and say, yeah, okay, maybe there isn't as much demand, but there's also another factor to consider, which is the quality of the buildings that are there also. So if you have a REIT that primarily has Class B and Class C buildings, those are not going to fare very well. The ones that have Class A buildings are going to be fine because the leasing activity in those is actually relatively high. So these are the kind of like things that when you do your research, you got to really like key into and focus on, because then you can see like, okay, what quality of assets does this bank have, or does this real estate developer have, or this REIT, and then you can go from there.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Let's get to some of these super chats. David, thank you for the super chat. He says, are the actors Dermot Mulroney and Dylan McDermott the same person?
I looked them up. they look similar. They could be brothers. They could be brothers, but they weren't they were not one zygote at any point.
Okay.
Yeah, I responded. ARM is, I think, the big one that people are waiting for. Oh, private.
So are there any private companies that might go public next year? ARM data. I don't know if Databricks is going public next year. I think 2025 maybe. Yeah, I guess ARM. Instacart is another
one. You're muted,
one.
Vitaly. You're muted.
I think I've learned through all of this over the last decade. I've bought IPOs many times, and I have never done well buying an IPO.
Me neither.
So it's not worth ever again buying an IPO and just waiting a year or two until it, we get a couple of good quarters under our belt. It's not worth it.
Yeah, or unless you plan on holding it, because it's gonna
No,
pump.
it's not worth it. It's always going to pump.
It's gonna dump, and then
and you're never going to get the good price, and then it's going to go in
Vitaly,
half.
did you buy the Uber IPO in 2019?
I actually didn't buy that one, but I did buy Facebook IPO, and I did buy it higher at $75 initially when it came out. Well, it pumped from 30 to 70.
Yeah,
and then it fell again, and I bought it again. But at that point, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, oh, I use Facebook. That was my only thesis on it.
we only knew the stock price. We had no idea how.
Yeah, so I remember it went to 70. Oh, and Google is the one I didn't buy, which is weird. That's the IPO I should have bought. The only one I didn't buy. Coinbase I bought by the IPO. So I bought like $200, $250 I paid. I forgot what I paid for Coinbase. So it was kind of crazy. So never again am I buying IPOs. I'm done with it. I have to wait a year or two, and that's when I'll go in.
I agree.
Last question.
It's funny that you mentioned Uber, because remember how we spoke about, like, there's very few things me and Vitaly agree on.
We agree on
the ones that we do agree on stuff, it tends to do really well. Uber was one of them. By the way,
we didn't buy
IPO. Crow.
We didn't buy IPO.
No,
so.
It was last year when it was really undervalued, when it was like trading in the 20s. Like right now, it doubled. It doubled. Yep.
Actually, me and Carlos have videos in 2020 when the stock fell to 15. And we were buying it. I think both of us were buying it at some point down towards those levels, towards the teens. I don't think I caught the bottom, but we were buying in the 20s.
I picked up the Lyft IPO like an idiot. I did buy some of the Uber IPO like an idiot. I did go into Coinbase like an idiot, but eventually they made me whole. I did start making some money once the market started to turn. And again, you can look at this on Freelancer Finance. Once it started to make money, that's when I started liquidating everything and buying Bitcoin. So Uber bought me a Bitcoin. Lyft, bought me a Bitcoin. Like, I'm happy.
Here's the tricky thing about IPOs. Whenever they release their S1s, they make the loftiest projections of where things are going to go. And it really attracts a lot of people. But if you think about it, the reason why a company does the IPO is not because like they want investors. It's they have existing creditors. Existing shareholders that want to get out of the company, right? And they're actually seeing the potential for less reward going public, staying private than going public, right? So if you think about that mentality, it's like, think about PayPal. When it first went public, it went to the moon, right? It IPO'd at a crazy high price. But Peter Thiel and everyone was like, yeah, we're definitely going to IPO now because this is the top of the market. And so many companies, they IPO, they usually IPO at the top of the hype market for whatever industry they're in.
We haven't seen IPOs this year.
To get the best price.
Talk to Chamath about that. Dumping shares of Virgin Galactic on us.
Well, this is good to know. Like next time that the SPACs are hitting, everyone wants to IPO, you're reaching a top.
Don't
You're right about that. Yeah. Do not buy it. It's not worth it. Because if there's upside, it's going to be upside in 5-10 years anyway, because it has to stabilize before it can reach its true potential. It's not just going there right to the moon like we all thought. Oh, Coinbase, obviously. Bitcoin is hot. And we weren't thinking about when Bitcoin goes down. We both knew Bitcoin's going to go down too.
Yeah.
So like we really were not processing that Coinbase will crash along with Bitcoin.
But what's funny is it's because we expect markets to understand certain things about companies that we do. Like Coinbase makes money whether you're buying or selling. They're making money on the fees. So you figured, oh, they're going to make money either way. They make money in the bear market or a bull market. Markets will understand this. No, they see Bitcoin go down, they sell off Coinbase. It's ridiculous.
So this last question by David, Vitaly, let's ask you this question to start off. Is he too optimistic to think the Fed will cut rates?
Hey, funny buddy.
Cut rates September 2024. Oh, he thinks.
Oh, he's saying a year from now.
I think yes. I did send an article. Where is it? I did wanted to read something about this.
I think
let me get it out
a little bit before September 2024.
I was going to say before. Maybe that means I'm way more optimistic. But I would say somewhere at the top of next year.
Yeah, someone say go right. I did want to bring up an article, but let me find it first.
Chris, what do you think? You think they're cutting 2024 early or late?
Well, this is funny because this target keeps moving, right? You guys remember 6 months ago, everything was supposed to start getting cut towards the end of this year, right? And then things were supposed to start getting cut the early part of next year, and now the projections have been pushed back all the way to the middle of next year. So I think it's going to be, no matter what projection you think that it's all going to be dependent on the economy and the data that comes out. Like right now, GDP growth is strong, unemployment is relatively low. The hangups of a possible recession are not there. So there could be a black swan event in the middle of all of this. Who knows? Like I'm starting to see COVID numbers starting to come back up again. I don't know if you guys saw that. That's been in the news.
Another black swan event is coming around the corner.
COVID's back.
Well, there's a new COVID strain called Black Swan. And
Wait, are you guys serious?
No, there is actually a new strain of COVID that's supposedly coming out. I'm seeing people with double masks again. I'm seeing them.
What?
Yeah, and they're making a big push for vaccine. California is a crazy place. Like
I gotta go get my 17 vaccines now.
I don't know. COVID.
The whole chat just got triggered.
I don't know. COVID is over, but here, this is from MSN. I believe we may be at the point where we can be patient and hold rates steady. Philadelphia Fed President Patrick Harker said in a Tuesday speech. Boston Fed President Susan Collins said she also thought a pause could be appropriate soon. My read
Daily
of the data,
said the same thing, I think. Yeah.
My read of the data that we have so far, and that we are near or perhaps at a sufficiently restrictive level of monetary policy to hold for some time, she said in a Monday interview. So look, if these people are saying it, I'm not saying they paused yet, but these are the important people here.
I don't think today's reacceleration was enough to raise rates. I really don't. I mean, we got to see some
I think
numbers.
This is a lot of it had to do with energy prices starting to climb up again in a very steep way. So if you look at oil prices, they're up, and some of this will actually come and show up on the data probably in August as well. Shelter is not going down as fast as some people are hoping. That's the other problem. So while owner's equivalent rents is down, and actually year over year is actually modulating very well, when it comes to the price of homes themselves, they're not coming down at all. And a lot of it is because the inventory numbers are just so low depending on which region you're in. So
yeah, but this equivalent rents thing that they do, it seems like funny business. It seems like you can just use data from Zillow and all these other websites that actually collect real data.
Up. Yeah. What's that saying?
This is saying U.S. inflation rate ticks up slightly in July. Rent prices continue to surge. The index for rent and owner's equivalent rose 0.4%, 0.5% on a monthly basis, respectively. Owner's equivalent rent is the hypothetical rent a homeowner would pay. The shelter index was the largest factor in the monthly increase of core inflation. Among the other indexes that rose in July was the index for motor vehicle insurance, which increased 2% on a monthly basis after rising 1.7% the preceding month. The indexes for education and recreation also increased in July, the BLS noticed.
See, that's the difference. So the figure itself is a little bit misleading, like owner's equivalent rent.
That's what
versus,
I'm saying.
Versus oh, go ahead, Vitaly. Sorry.
Actual rent. Okay.
Yeah.
The way
the market rent.
Well, no, and it's also based on the past history. Like if you look at current data, rent is actually down. So in that sense, they should just be using current Zillow and Trulia and all this other data that's publicly available. So I don't understand this equivalent rent thing. I'm not even sure how they come up with it. Maybe Chris knows.
I think they weigh it against I don't know. You know what?
Oh, no, I do know. Actually, I do remember this. They have a survey. They ask.
Oh, yeah.
They do a Twitter poll.
This is so stupid. No, it's basically they have a survey and they ask, do you feel that rent is more expensive or less expensive? Like, this is idiotic. Like, you can go publicly and get the data. Like, this is it's so stupid. It means nothing, that statistic. And this is why this is all bullshit, honestly.
Wow. Okay.
They dropped the bomb. I'll give you the cheat. They eventually dropped the bomb, but you don't get to see the bomb drop. That's it.
Bro, wasn't that the worst part of the movie, them not showing the simulation of the bomb drop? Because I thought that was.
Why are you killing it for me? I didn't see it.
No, it's just history. They dropped the bomb. But
it's just history.
It's this guy. They asked this guy, and he's like,
but it's basically
he's right. This guy is right.
What's funny is, by the way, I did hear this before on some podcast. They go to homeowners too, and they say, "What do you think rent is currently at your place?" They're not paying rent, first of all. Like, this is idiotic in this day and age. It's totally idiotic.
You know what it's like? It's like I was reading some of the statistics when they tell you that, it's the hottest temperatures ever recorded. There's somebody who posted a map where you can actually see where these sensors are, where they posted. They put these sensors on the on the runways at airports.
Oh shit.
Like that's where the sensors are to tell you like
Under
what
the
the
plane.
temperature is
They're
in the-
under the plane.
you know what I mean? So like, yeah, at Texas or whatever international airport on the tarmac, it's probably going to be pretty.
Yo, how
bad.
do you feel it when you see those articles of like it's the hottest ever? Like, because I'm kind of like, all right, fuck it, like whatever happens, happens. I kind of don't feel this like, oh, we need to save the planet type shit. I'm kind of like, yo, this shit is so bad, it's so hot. We got a good 100 years left, and then we're done. And it's okay. The dinosaurs died. The thing before the dinosaurs died. We're gonna die. Like civilizations.
But just to be clear, the dinosaurs did not die from a little heat. They died from this massive.
Yeah, we died because we are obsessed with capitalism and growth. And the problem with climate change, people that want to like save the planet, is like that means you have to stop growth. And if you stop growth,
that's not true. That is bullshit. What you're saying right now, total bullshit.
But how do we solve climate change without stopping growth?
He's not bullshitting in the sense that that's the narrative that they're pushing to people. They're saying,
and it works on a myth, I guess.
We have to use.
No. But let me just clarify my point. My point is, for example, there's a million toothpaste brands. The people that are for climate change are like, we need to have 2 toothpaste brands, because if you have a million toothpaste brands, you have a million factories, a million supply chains, you have all this excess, essentially greenhouse gas emissions. Same thing with cars, microphones, whatever it is. If you artificially limit or force a limitation on products and goods and services, you are restricting freedoms. That means I'm not allowed to start a microphone company tomorrow. In the West, we don't do that shit. And so until in the West, we fundamentally re-architect the paradigm by which we think of consumption and growth, which means Vitaly doesn't get to make a photography company because there's already another photography company.
Yeah,
which means Vitaly has to do the train every morning, which is going to leave greenhouse gas emissions to go to New York, which is going to stop him from growing. Unless we stop growth, we can't stop the climate change problem. At least that's how I see it.
No, I think you're mixing up several things. The way even smart climatologists look at it is like, what is the thing causing the most gases? Like, for example, animals cause too much methane. Like we eat too much meat. That is a problem.
But
hold on.
Vitaly, you literally proved my point. Are you going to stop eating meat?
No, I'm not. But I'm saying there's ways around. I'm not, by the way. I'm not saying that. But there's different industries that affect us differently, right? So for example, transportation, which is what we focus on, me and Carlos, transportation using oil as the means of transporting. If we change that to a clean energy economy, that would remove, I don't know how much, half the greenhouse gases, basically solving our problem. Like that's the entire.
We got to do a lot of shit to get the lithium. Like the dirty part of the Tesla.
No, but it's still, it's still, if you look at the life cycle, even what you're talking about, it's after 2 years or so.
It's better.
No, it's after around 2 years to 3 years. Yeah, driving your EV car at 14,000 miles or 20,000 miles a year, you're basically at net zero. At that point, it's paying itself off in terms of the greenhouse emissions. It's stopping that. So
my point, Vitaly, is do you when you see the articles, do you feel a moral responsibility yourself to not eat a burger?
No,
okay. So if that's the case, how do you think other people are going to feel when they see those articles? Because if they don't feel the responsibility, how are we going to stop?
Once again, the way I take it is I take it in a different direction. And first of all, I can't solve it by myself. Just because I put some solar panels on my roof doesn't mean I solve climate change. That's not how it works. But the incentive structure is now changing. The IRA is one of those things. Bringing manufacturing back into America, actually having jobs where people don't care if they're at the oil fields or in solar farms. They don't care. They just want the job. So that is what's actually causing the change. And that will accelerate. That means you don't have to stop eating burgers. That means you can go to New York City and not feel bad about it, because that itself over the next 20 years will play itself out. The incentives matter. If we stop incentivizing oil and we start incentivizing something else, it's just going to change and you won't even notice it. You can still eat your burger. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not a bad point.
And naturally, if you look at population growth rates, they're actually declining. Not a lot, but they're actually declining significantly. It's just people are living longer. So if you look at like the world population as an aggregate, like we really like blew up the planet in terms of like growth over the last 100 years. But overall, right now, the population growth rate has actually gone down significantly. I mean, if it wasn't for like India and probably some of the African, sub-Saharan African countries.
Japan has not been at replacement levels for a while, and I think the U.S. is either right at replacement levels or slightly below replacement levels.
Yeah, had it not been for immigration, the U.S. would really be in a downward spiral in terms of world growth. So you can see here like population growth in the world, right here. Where is it? Right here is going down significantly. But also at the same time, you're starting to see a population that's aging significantly, right? Where's the aging life expectancy of the world? Because of modern medicine and healthcare, you can see life expectancy all over the world is just getting raising up. So these are the kinds of like things that are happening demographically. But overall, I don't I don't.
Do you feel any
necessarily-
individual responsibility, or are you on the side of Vitaly that's like, I'm going to invest in companies that are trying to solve this problem at a macro scale?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Vitaly on this one. I say economics is the cure. I mean, capitalism is the cure to most problems, right? So you just have to put the incentives in place to do one or the other. So here's an example. You're supposed to penalize bad behavior and you're supposed to reward good behavior. So if you go electric and you buy an EV, let's give you some incentives to go that route so that you're not buying a gas guzzling car that's putting up CO2 in the air, right? On the other hand, you should be fined if you're throwing your shit in the Hudson River. Like if you get caught throwing litter in the Hudson River, I believe, honestly, I'm like Singapore. I think they should just take you to jail, to be honest. There's 3 fucking things I hate. I hate litter, I hate graffiti, and I hate people that treat the environment like you go to some of these parks and people just
Like a
throw their
trash
fucking
dump.
shit. And it's like, come on, man. Like, dude,
Yeah.
you come here every fucking day. You have some fucking respect for just your general.
That's not a climate thing. That's an asshole problem. That's not a climate problem.
No. I'm saying
look at the rates of assholes increasing over the last 20 years.
problem.
No, but still, it's the big industry that causes these problems, not that asshole throwing shit.
The problem is I'm saying here in the U.S. This is my own personal experience. The problem is if you go to some of these third world countries, they take all their plastic garbage. They don't even try. They just put that shit right into the ocean,
and then they drink it.
And then they drink the same. I'm like, come on, guys. So that's like one of those things that it's like, come on, like people really need to change. Like one of the things that they did in Southeast Asia, because Southeast Asia is like a lot of deltas. Like, so there's river systems going all over. So their form of like trash collection, and trash is literally just go to the local river and throw your shit in there. Eventually it'll go down the delta and eventually it ends up in the oceans. And that's why there's so much plastic in the oceans. That's, I think, a bigger problem than all the CO2 nonsense, where there's so much plastic in the oceans. You go to any like beach right now sometimes and it's covered with fucking plastic.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
First of all, there are solutions, by the way, that are being done right now with like these big autonomous boats that have like nets and they scan pockets. I don't know if you saw this, but there are pockets where plastic congregates because where the currents meet.
Yeah,
so they have the boats come out there.
Yeah, it's a landmass that rivals like some cities and some.
But they have boats come up, and you can actually
a high school
capture
kid
it.
figured out. He figured out a way you can do it passively. Like with the
so that's happening. I think that can be solved. And plus, we are slowly moving away from plastic. I don't know what's going on in your guys' states. In Georgia, you're in New Jersey, but in California, we stopped having plastic bags at supermarkets. That's a small thing.
You have to bring your own. Or you have to pay 10 cents. But there's a lot of people that hate on. They hate on the paper straws. Like the paper straws.
The paper straws are the worst. But
it gives me so much anxiety.
No, but I'm saying once the incentive structures change and there's like now laws in the book saying you can't do this and there's fines if you do this, all of a sudden, like right away, things change pretty fast. So this IRA thing, which people are ignoring, this is a massive tidal wave of change that's coming. It might be harder in a high interest rate environment, but as soon as that comes around, I could see a doubling of solar and EVs pretty quickly, in fact. So I think the incentives, like we talked about, Chris, is what matters. And that's what will solve it. Not the good person not littering. Like we can't have a campaign teaching people not to litter. That should be part of education just in general in school, but that's not going to solve the climate change thing.
I think one of the things that we're seeing though is like more plastics that not plastics, but like more containers that are biodegradable that can turn into, like that basically you can throw it anywhere and eventually it'll grow into a fucking tree. These
really
are
cool.
like they actually
can be
have
composted or whatever. It can go away after a certain reasonable period of time. Right.
Yeah. I'll play just a few seconds of this. This is a TikToker that visited Japan and he couldn't believe how clean the cities were. I saw this. You saw this? I've been to Japan and I went in 2013 and I was amazed. You don't see, how in New York City, you see those like black dots of gum that have been stepped on. And sometimes the guys are out there with the pressure. Yeah. You don't see any of that. And I don't even remember seeing garbage cans on the corners in Japan. Like the people just don't consider it. Anyway, I ran across this the other day.
People talk a lot about like an Austin, Texas, or
can you blow it up? Can you make bigger
or something? And it's there. When you see how the cities are in advanced Asia, people don't understand the level that these countries play at.
It looks
it's
like Disney World.
Even our best, like what we would consider, okay, this is let's showcase this city as being something. it's just you can't even compare it. It looks like you're comparing like it would be like comparing a modern Tesla car to a horse and buggy when you think of like the cities in the US compared to, I mean, this is not even, if I ask 100 people on the street, hey, what do you know about Fukuoka, Japan? I bet probably 90 out of 100 have never even heard of Fukuoka. And yet this city will blow away like anything. Boston, Austin, Texas, like, doesn't matter. This is like the clean, safe, modern wizardry.
Yeah.
You know, fuck that guy. He should move out of
Some other TikToker did a thing in Dubai. Like, she's a famous
Yeah.
TikToker. She put on a pair of white socks and said, I'm going to walk around in Dubai all day and
That's
let's see what
wild.
happens. Walked around all day, like 5 miles or whatever. And at the end of it, she took off her socks. They were perfectly clean. She's like,
Yeah,
there's
Singapore's
no
like
freaking
that
and then
too.
she got kidnapped and raped
Yeah.
on the top floor of one of those buildings.
thrown
Oh
off
my
the top.
God.
Jesus.
I mean, no, but see, the thing with these Middle Eastern countries, they got slave labor coming in, being indentured servants coming in from India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan.
Yeah.
So they're using. You think any of those UAE people actually do any real work? It's all people looking like me coming over and doing everything. What's fucked up is that's the side, that girl, what they showed you, that's what they want you to see. But then
Yeah.
there's like armies of homes like that are just dilapidated places where they house all the workers. You know, and the workers have no rights. Like they literally will take the passport from them. So if you don't do your job, they'll just say, okay, here's your passport, go back to your country. And they have just so much contracted work. So a lot of people, they say, well, look at Dubai and look at Saudi Arabia. They built their entire countries up in the last 20 years. And I'm like, yeah, financed by oil and a cheap labor force from a foreign country that never gets any rights to the local population. I mean, it's all economics. I can understand that. But that's the difference between the US and the Middle East, where when people come here, you can actually become something. Whereas there, you will never be a person in a citizen there.
Well, so that's an interesting conversation. Do you think that because
But still, they're clean. That's the important thing.
Yeah, they're clean. They're clean.
clean.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think because there is no Saudi Arabian dream, like there is an American dream, that's the trade-off we have to deal with for the shitty infrastructure? Like, can we have good infrastructure like Japan, but also have an American dream? Is that possible?
I see a pattern with you that you believe in order to have prosperity, you must give something else up. This goes back to like the privacy thing. If I want free search, I have to give up privacy. Like, you can have both. We have, there's
It's just about
almost
freedom.
abundant
Like,
resources
no,
on this
let me
planet.
say a simple example, right? In the United States, like, yeah, it's illegal to litter, but because we believe in freedom so much, if you litter, like, you can kind of get away with
No,
it.
but
and like in Singapore, they don't believe in that freedom.
No,
shit.
I
Like,
think
you
once
litter,
again,
you're-
it's
you're
just
doing
the
is
education.
You're conflating. You're saying that freedom means that you have the right to say to trash your like, that's
No,
not a
I
freedom.
don't think you have the right to do that. I think America believes we are more lenient. Like Chris said, you can go to jail. That's not happening. You're not going to fucking jail for littering. And so if we're
No,
not
no,
gonna be that
okay, so look,
strict,
look.
Ideally, you shouldn't. need
Hold
to
on,
go
hold
to
on. In
jail.
Japan and in Russia, by the way, Russia's extremely clean. Their economy is being fucked. But if you were basically in Russia, and my parents told me the stories, you would do anything. You would say a curse word. You would throw a piece of trash on the floor. The teacher comes and fucking hits you.
correct.
Okay,
Correct.
you get fucking hit. And you have to wear the same outfit, just like in Japan. You got to wear basically a certain outfit. They all got to wear similar stuff. I think in Russia too, you had a certain dress code that you had to wear. I'm not sure if that is still now, but we don't do any of that. A kid here, by the way, a kid does anything bad, the teachers are afraid of the kid that he'll say something bad. Okay, then they'll send him to the principal.
You agree with me that you have to give up some stuff to have freedom?
No,
No,
I think
I
he's
think
making
it's
the
our
opposite
educational
point.
problem. That's the problem. We become pansies as parents, and we let the kids get away with everything, just completely everything. Like,
I do have to just preface this with one thing. It depends on part of the country you're talking about also, because there's varying levels of strictness. Like there's certain parts of Georgia here, like, dude, just like you saw Fukuoka, Japan, dude, it's like that here too. You know, it just depends on the part of the place. Like if you come to Atlanta and you go to
Savannah,
Sandy,
Georgia.
yeah,
Savannah, Georgia. Is,
yeah. Well,
Like,
it depends on which part of Savannah. Depends on which part of Savannah.
When I
But-
visited,
yeah.
where I did by the water.
But like here in like Sandy Springs is a very clean part of Atlanta. But then you go to like College Park and it's like, whoa,
Okay,
you're in like,
but what's the difference? What's the difference there? You have generations of people living in the same neighborhood, paying high property taxes that have a certain feeling of authority and community for their neighborhood. One TikToker was doing a giveaway in New York City, and what did they do? They went to Union Square and destroyed the freaking city.
That's
like,
wild.
what is that? What is wrong with people?
Yeah.
I was shocked
for
for anyone,
anyone-
TikToker. That was
What the hell
crazy.
is wrong with people?
No, he was a Twitch
know
streamer,
that-
not just TikTok.
I know
Whatever,
that I know that some
whatever it
people.
is. Like, well, seriously,
I know that some.
how does being a free person translate into you just being an asshole? Like, why do people think that you have the right to
Wait, no, but Carlos, I
do that?
agree with you. I'm just saying the culture in America is that because we put freedom on such a high bar, we let people get away with it because we're not that strict.
No,
it,
that's
it
not a
shouldn't be
freedom.
the case.
No,
I agree
it's
with you.
Not
but
that.
but I don't think that's. I don't think it's.
And it's
an
also
issue of freedom.
multicultural, by the way. We don't have a monoculture like all
that
these
is
other
also
places.
true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But within,
I think
Chris,
it's more
go ahead,
about
go ahead.
belief. Yeah, no, I think it's more about equity than anything else. So here's what I mean by that. If you have a nation or if you have a neighborhood and you actually own a home in that neighborhood, you are more likely to keep that neighborhood nice and vibrant, right?
Yeah.
You also, if neighbors come or if people come around your neighborhood and they start fucking around, you will say something. But if you're just a renter, you don't give a fuck. It's like, whatever, I don't really have any equity here. I'm not trying to build anything up. So a lot of times what happens is now that we're becoming a lot like the country has a shit ton of renters, people don't give a crap about the neighborhood as much. And this is the one thing I hate about a lot of these corporate landlords that just come up and buy entire neighborhoods. And then what happens is the first couple of years, everything looks nice, everything is great. But then it's just constant people renting who have no equity position in the homes. So they treat the neighborhood like crap. And then what ends up happening, the entire neighborhood goes to shit. So I think it's more about equity. And I think people should be allowed to own their own homes at a reasonable price that people can afford, as opposed to always having to rent for an entire fucking generation, That's the sad part.
When I first moved to LA, I moved into one of those beautiful buildings. It was a brand new build, and they were just starting to get people in. They had very, very strict standards of who they would allow to move in, and the people that lived there were great, and it was a great community. But as they got higher and higher occupancy rates and had that small 5, 6, 7% left to fill, they started lowering the standards, and over the course of several years, the culture and the community in the building started to fall. That was one of the big reasons that finally pushed me out of my apartment building, is that we started having, a bunch of hooligans or a bunch of younger kids coming in there, throwing parties and making it feel unsafe in the community that we're in. The final straw was that one of the guys on the 6th floor, did some crazy amount of drugs and started throwing all of his furniture off of the balcony. And he was literally throwing his table. The final straw for me was, because I lived where you could see the front of the building, and even have this on video. He threw over his weight set. So he was throwing 50, 60-pound dumbbells off of the 6th floor, and they were hitting the stairs, which are concrete or slate stairs, and they were exploding on impact. He threw his bed out of the window, and I was like, you know what? I told my mom not to visit me the following month, and I immediately told the management I'm looking for a house, and I'm gonna move. I was already in the market anyway, but that pushed me out of it. And so I do see what you're talking about. I see exactly what you're talking about. It starts off when they buy these communities and they sell you one thing, but in order to keep it filled at high occupancy, they need to lower the standard, and they let people with worse and worse credit or just bad actors in. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take that many. You need 2% of the people there to get rid of 70% of your good clients.
It's incentives. If you go to Russia, by the way, nobody owns anything. Nobody has a house. You're not allowed to. Okay. Maybe now the last 10 years, but basically you couldn't own anything. Go to Moscow, super clean. Everything's clean. All right. The point is, it's not owning versus renting. It's not that. It's how you raise the kids. That's
Culture.
what's important. It's
culture,
culture.
yeah.
It's all of that. And we don't do that here. We just don't. It's all about how we raise our kids, and we don't do that here. We don't care. How many times have you seen a mother let her kid throw garbage on the floor and not tell them, hey, go fucking pick that up? I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen people driving on the street throwing in highways, throwing bottles out of their fucking car. Like, how crazy
Freedom.
is this shit? It's freedom.
That's
American freedom.
The thing is, that's not.
But this is okay. That they think it's
That's not
okay, and at
freedom.
60 miles an hour to throw even plastic bottles out of their car. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But
that is a good point. Yeah.
How we end this. How we end this, I say, is that everybody who's paying attention in this chat, if you see a piece of garbage tomorrow or today, why don't you fucking pick it up? Don't leave it on the floor. I walk around my neighborhood.
What
if
if
I'm
it's
walking,
really stinky though?
I will pick up garbage and make sure to take it home.
I do that.
I don't want this in my neighborhood.
I do that even with my own kid, even in my house. If she throws a wrapper on the floor, I make sure, no, we pick that up and we put it in the trash. We put it in the trash.
Shoot.
You've got to start them young, and you have to have them
have to.
respect where they live. And I want to leave you guys with this because this absolutely relates. I'm sure you saw this, Chris.
I'll never get.
You guys remember being kids? Amit remembers the fucking what is it? The slipper or the sandal?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Or the chancletas? The chancletas.
Oh, my mom. We used to joke that my mom, like,
if you look at Amit's like this at home. He does this. He's like,
No,
you look behind him. It's fucking just
bro.
all trash.
I do the dishes every night. I fucking clean this house.
He
bro.
does. He helps his parents a
You
lot. So
should.
you got to give him credit.
I do.
man.
Okay,
How do
Carlos,
you know?
real quick
Were
before I
you
share
there?
your
Are you
thing,
there
yeah.
watching?
Yeah, I want to share.
David,
this real quick.
real quick before you share, David, I don't know how much fucking money you have, but you're sending
Damn,
a lot of
dude.
money. I hope you're okay.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Said
it,
one of my
David.
favorite companies, Celsius,
yeah, they
took
popped.
over CEO. Stock is up 3,400%. He's a disruptive innovator and visionary.
That is
Yeah, I
true.
agree.
I told you about this goddamn. I hate myself. My wife told me about this.
was
I
already
remember
up,
I brought
dude.
it up.
But it was
I
already
know,
up.
but I can't. But
But
this
he
is
would have
the
been
part
more
that-
up.
No. This is the part that I hate about myself when it comes to being an investor. I'm so fucking rational with investing. I miss amazing opportunities.
But by the way, first of all, if you went into it, you would have been out of the double, and you would have never seen
I know, but that's the
3,400%.
fucking point that I'm trying to make.
100%, you would have
But-
never seen it, dude. Never.
But that's my point. That I'm too rational to fucking buy things, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, you didn't
That's what I'm
admit-
saying. I
In
hate
in
You didn't
fact,
make
you,
it-
I'll give Chris. You know the chicken wing thing. I've been thinking about the chicken wing thing. He's been talking about Wingstop.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
thinking about that a lot for the last couple of months, just slowly processing it. You know what? What if it does become a bigger thing? And the thing is, you have to be in it for a decade to see that through. And I know you would never be there, dude.
I have it. I have it. That's one of the companies I actually do have. You know, it's gonna be a while, but dude,
it's
trust
going to
me,
be
it
gone at
sucks.
the double. As soon as it doubles, those chicken wings are flying the coop.
Here,
What was I
I'm
going to
gonna-
say real quick?
I'm gonna share this real quick because
I was going to say something I forgot. Oh yeah, Chris. The same thing with Duolingo. If you had a bigger position in that one when you said,
Yeah.
that would have been even better.
I don't have a position to Duolingo. I sold it.
did you guys
Yeah.
see this? Did you guys see this?
No,
No,
but-
I didn't see this.
I'm too
Watch
rational. What's the
Like she crazy, cursing at her, telling her what you won't do. You won't clean your room. You won't do what you want to do. And you talk to your mother like that? Like you tough? Do you think you tough, little man?
Mhm.
Talk to me like you talk to your mother. Talk to me. You think you tough, don't you? Boss up on me. Cuss me out. Tell me you ain't gonna do what I say do. I dare you. I dare you.
I don't know if that works.
You ain't gonna do it to me? Why you do it to her? Why you talk to her disrespectfully? Why?
The
The strong
backstory-
father figure, dude. The strong
the
father
the backstory
figure.
here.
That's what we
Wait, but
fucking
the
need.
backstory is this is a single mom, right? And she brought in a veteran. This guy's a veteran, like a.
Oh, that's not his dad.
Or-
Oh,
It's
okay.
not his dad. It was a veteran like friend of hers who she was having real problems keep getting him under control. He was misbehaving in school and she felt like he was going to be one of those kids. And so she brought him in and he kind of set him straight. People see that and they would say that that's child abuse. You can't speak to a child that way, but not saying
That's not
anything about
child
the kid.
abuse.
No, it's not child abuse,
No,
but I
it's
wonder
not
if that works
There are
or he
people that would
takes
say
it
that,
as a
seriously.
negative. So I did something similar today where my kid, who's 9.5, he spoke, like he gets an attitude like, oh, I did that, but he didn't curse, but he said, like, he just got angry for no reason. She was just asking him to go put on his shoes to go outside because they were taking him. And I'm like, don't you ever speak to your mother like that.
Only I speak to your mother like that.
But no joke. And then I'm like, is that really the right way though? Like maybe I should just tone it down, sit him down, say, hey, would you like somebody to talk to you like that? Like explain it in a more rational way.
I'm glad you said that, Vitaly, because the same thing happened to me when I was much younger.
Just now.
That's not my wife.
Like my
No. If I fucked up on something, my dad would, he'd give me the occasional like slap on the back of the head or whatever, right? But then like one day I fucked up on something, and he actually, instead of getting angry and super like, over the top, he just had me and I was like, look, man, you're old enough to the point where me hitting you it's not gonna make any difference to you physicality wise. But let me explain something. When you do this, you're doing the wrong thing and you're hurting me and your mother. You need to stop. And if you don't stop, you're gonna end up in a really bad place. And so that had more of an effect on me. But in the year 2012, I remember that, and I made him sell all his Tesla. So revenge is on you, Dad. Fuck you. So he could have been retired 5 years sooner. Fuck you, Dad.
I got your back, Dad, you idiot.
I honestly, not to brag, but me and my sister have never had an issue with our parents in terms of talking back. Like we were just
Oh,
We were
shut up!
really-
You're the baby. You're the baby. Shut up! You don't get to talk. The
We were
babies
really
never
good
have
kids,
problems.
bro. We were like,
okay,
my mom
okay.
could drop on this podcast, right? We were such good kids. Like we just
You're the baby
never-
of the. You are the baby. The baby never gets his ass kicked. It's always the older sibling that gets his ass.
Even
whooped.
my
That's
sister,
how it
bro.
works.
I mean, I got slapped a couple
it's a-
times
if
here and
it's
there,
a
but
girl-
never did my mom have a problem with me having an attitude because she led with love and like I reciprocated and yeah, that's it.
Good for you with your happy household. But no, I was the older kid. My ass got beat. My brother never. My brother was like, "Oh no, you're okay. You're fine."
But listen,
no, we're gonna
Russians
punish
believe
the
in
older
belts,
one.
by the way. Russians believe
Yeah,
in belts.
I never could understand getting spanked by a belt. I never got spanked with a belt or a spatula. I never ever.
I got
Like,
the
that's just
belt. I
crazy,
got
bro.
the belt. I
Yo,
got
bro, you're not
the-
Indian. I'm taking your Indian card away right now.
No, my
man.
mom
If
is
you
my
ain't-
mom is very liberal. My dad's they're not they're
My
conservative.
dad had one of
liberal,
those
but-
hats. You know those hats from the 70s, like those like kind of like a fat looking hat, kind of like a burger bun with like the little brim, and it had this like metal knob on the top, and he would whip that thing off and he would hit me with it. I was a
Yeah, I
middle
never had
child,
that.
so
I never
my
had that.
older sister wouldn't get hit. My younger sister was the baby; she wouldn't get hit, but I would get hit. And looking back at it now, my dad definitely went too far with it sometimes. But what I'll say is, it definitely did teach me on a subconscious level that if people don't that there is always that threat of violence, that you always have to be careful that you can be hurt this way. It did at least give me a certain respect for the fact that there is violence out there in the world, and you do have to be careful about that. I'm not saying that that's a reason to hit your kids, but it definitely did teach me, like, you kind of have to watch out what you say, because this is my dad, right? But if it's someone that I don't know, they're not going to stop, or they'll go even further. It does give you a certain respect for other people.
Dude, one time I remember my brother was fucking up on something. He was being extra like crazy and loud. And my grandfather came upstairs and he hit fucking me. I was just sitting around. I wasn't even doing anything. He hit me. And while he's hitting me, he's looking at him. Don't fucking do that again. Don't do that again. I was
Look
like,
what you made me do.
It was like, wait a second. I didn't do anything, you know? So my brother, bro, I'm telling you, the fucking kid, the babies, they never fucking get anything happen to them. Okay. I always got my ass beat. And I was my grandpa, I didn't do anything. I'm sure that you're gonna do something in the future. Okay. You're the fucked up one. We're gonna have this talk later. So I got my ass beat. He was lucky. He didn't get anything happen.
You just
One time
reminded
I
me. Well, yeah, one thing you reminded me when I was a kid, when my father would hit me, the few times he did, I'd be like, "You hit me, I hit him," which is my brother, the younger brother. The shit rolls downhill.
You hit
okay?
me, I hit him. Right, I'm gonna pay this dividend to
Dude, my brother used to take advantage of that, where he knew that like they would come after me, so he would actually antagonize and fuck shit up so that I would get beat, right? So one day I was like, "Listen, man, once they're done with me, I'm coming after you."
as soon as these
Don't
wounds
fuck
heal,
around.
and they won't see your wounds.
All right.
I remember
let's call
I
it.
thought I was smart. My mother would often tell me when she's on the phone, if you acted up, she'd be like, "You wait till I get off the phone." And I did something stupid one time, and she did that thing to me. She was like, "You wait till I get off the phone." And I was like, "Fuck, what do I do?" So I went into the room, and I laid on the bed like on my elbow, so like my ass was up, and I put a book in my ass, a big ass book. I saw it on a fucking Tom and Jerry cartoon. I swear to God.
He says on Tom and Jerry.
Swear to God,
Yo.
she gets off the phone. She comes in the room. She's like, "You thought I forgot, huh?" And goes whap and hit me and hurt her hand so bad. Then what did she do? She rips the book out and hit me with the other hand.
She hit you with a book.
Don't give her any ideas, but man,
Oh, you were a creative fucking kid.
I
That's
just was
cute.
like, "Oh, I tried."
All right,
Dude,
guys.
man. All right, that was it for the work
Orders.
week. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back Sunday on the new channel,
Yeah.
and by the end of August, we'll be back on that new channel full time. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate 400 people being here.
Hit like,
good weekend.
subscribe to the new channel, blah blah blah.
Subscribe to the new channel. Twitter's in the
Thank you guys,
description.
thank you guys, everybody in the chat, and thank you to the mods.
Thank you to the
Thanks.
mods.
Take
All right,
care, guys.
everybody.
Bye.
See you Friday, Sunday. Bye.
Bye.